Navigating library databases doesn't have to be hard. In this video, I'll walk you through how to locate the university library's databases and how to navigate them effectively for your research. In the last video, we discussed how doing research is a lot like cooking. Your research question is your recipe that you're trying to achieve, and your keywords are the ingredients that you're going to use to make that recipe. But what we did not mention in that video is how databases are like your grocery store, the place that you go to with those keywords to find those ingredients to make your overall recipe. Now, the university library is just one database that you can go to find information. But every day you encounter various databases that you use to gather information, whether that's through social media or through Wikipedia or even Google. Overall, a database is a collection of information or data stored on a platform. But when it comes time for you to do research for your assignments, academic library databases are the preferred method for you to go about gathering that information. And that's because they carry a lot of useful information, such as peer-reviewed publications, academic books or book reviews, data and statistics, primary sources, and so much more that you can't gather from other pieces of information. As we talked about in the previous video, let's keep with our same example research question of how can community gardens improve health and well-being? And we're going to briefly walk through what this looks like if we search for this in a regular database like Google versus using an academic database instead. When I type this into Google, yes, I'm getting some academic articles here and there, but I'm also getting some articles that are more blog focused instead, that aren't going to give me that scholarly literature that might be what my professor is asking for me to pull up when it comes to my paper. Platforms like Google are a great place for you to start on finding your research, but overall, they're pulling information for a variety of places that vary in their levels of credibility, which makes them a great starting point for doing your research, but not necessarily the best when it comes to finding the sources that you'll need for your assignments in your class. So instead, that's why we encourage everyone to utilize our academic library databases at University Library to conduct their research. Here on the screen is our University Library website homepage. And if you're not familiar with how to get to this webpage, here's the URL so that way you can explore it a little bit more. But here's your one-stop shop for you to find all the resources for you to begin your searches. So as you look on this main screen, you can see that down here at the bottom where it says databases, if you click on that cylinder icon, you are taken to a place that has a list of all of our databases that we have at the library. And we have hundreds of databases for you to pull from as you're beginning to do your work. Any of these databases will be good for you as you begin your journey of doing your research. But what makes it really useful is that if you go up to this top search menu on the left-hand side where it says all subjects, and you click on it, you're able to narrow down all those databases to the subject area that is most relevant to you. So say we click on English, it's going to give you the best bets for whatever subject area that you're trying to focus in on, whether that's English, whether you're focusing on something that has to do more so with forensic science, or even if you want to do something that's more psychology focused. Because yes, there are all hundreds of these databases within our system, but you may want to pick one of the databases that is most relevant to you and your topic. Again, going back to our analogy about how databases are like the grocery store that you're going to go to find your ingredients for your overall research project, just like you would go to a Kroger or a Walmart or Trader Joe's for different items. That is the same way once you think about these databases, that each one of them is selling different things for you that other ones may not have. So it's all about finding the best fit for you. Now, if you're just getting started with your research though, one place that I recommend that you go to just get started on a general database that's not specific to any subject matter is if you go back to the home screen here and to the left of the red button where you click on OneSearch, this is where I want us to begin our searching in our general database. So going back to our overall research question about how can community gardens improve health and well-being, and referencing what we talked about in our previous video about the keywords that we want to use when we're searching, I'm going to type in community gardens and health because I'm interested in those two things. But I'm also interested in it as it relates to community gardens in urban areas like cities. And so hitting search. Now we're inside of one of our databases that's pulling up a lot of information that relates to our topic. But here are some crucial elements that I want you to keep in mind. Number one, as you can see on this left-hand side, our search has gathered over 2 million results. We are not reading all 2 million results. So it's important for us to know how to filter information down. So that way we bring that 2 million down to a reasonable number, and we're making sure that we're pulling information that we actually want to see. So you can do that by looking at the filters on the screen to do that work. Now, depending on what database that you're in, this may look a little bit different, but overall, these filters exist on pretty much every database that you'll go to. They just may be on the left-hand side, the right-hand side. In our case today, it is right here at the top underneath the search bar. So you can click on the word all filters, and this can pull up all this information here for us to begin our filtering process. One thing that we may want to do, we may have a requirement for our sources to all be peer reviewed. So we can click that so that way we're reducing it to be peer reviewed. We also may have a requirement for our professor where we need articles within the last 5 to 10 years. So I'm going to do a custom date range of the last 10 years. And we may also have a requirement where we only need academic articles specifically. So adding that filter in as well. And we can click apply. And now that 2 million number has gotten a lot smaller. These are still a very big number, but it's not as big as it once was. So that's just one of the ways that you can filter down in the databases. Like I said, these filters can be in different locations, but they always exist on a database. And as we see, as we scroll down, we're seeing some articles that are within what we're talking about. And we can pick one that is most interesting to us and relevant for what we're talking about. Like say this article here. Now, something else I want us to keep in mind as we are navigating library databases and starting to find articles that we do like, that keywords are very important. And so there are areas on every database, every article that you'll click on that has something like a subject, or it will say keywords, or it will say headers. So these are additional words that we may want to try and search underneath to find more sources that could be more relevant for our paper. So clicking on community gardens, we can start finding more information that might be useful for us of other articles that talk about what we're interested in. Now, it is important to mention that as you're navigating the databases, if I want to read this article, I am giving this sign here that's letting me know that I can't access it. That's because if you also notice at the top here, it says welcome guests, because I'm not logged into the IU system. You always want to make sure that you are logged in using your IU credentials, whether you do that up here or using this button here that will pop up to remind you to sign in. Regardless, you need to make sure you are logged in so that way you can access all of the resources that you are paying for through your tuition. And once you logged in, now you're able to look through the article that you found, read the abstract and the rest of the article to see if it's going to be useful for you. When you find an article that you do like using our database, here's what I want to remind you all to do when it comes to making sure that you have continuous access to it once you're done with your research process. Number one, if you want to save this article as a link, do not take the link from the URL at the top. This link is subject to change, and so you may not be able to find the article that you like later on because the URL may be different. Instead, I want you to go over to the menu bar right underneath it, and on the right-hand side, there is going to be an arrow that if you hover over it, it will say share. Clicking on that, it's going to take you to a page where it says create a link. This is going to create a permalink for you that is going to be something that will not change. It will always take you back to this article later on in the future. So do not take the URL from the top, but instead find the share button, find the permalink button, and can use that URL from there to access it later on in the future. Additionally, if you don't want to use a URL to find this later on, but you want to keep it long term, there is a button usually somewhere on your screen. In this example, this button is at the top next to the share button. Where you hover over it, it has a down arrow on it. It says download. You click on that. It will allow you to download the article to your web browser. It allows you to download the article to your computer so you continue to have access to it after you leave this session. And the last thing I want you to keep in mind that is a tool that you have within our library databases is the cite button. In this example here, it's in that same header that we've been on this whole time, but on the far left side, if you hover over it, it's a quotation marks that says cite. Clicking on that is going to generate a citation for you. If you click on the style underneath it, you can pick whatever citation style your professor wants you to do, whether that's APA or MLA, Chicago, or so on. What you want to make sure of when you get this reference from them is that you double check it to make sure that it is actually correct and nothing is wrong, because information in here could be misrepresented. So just double checking that, but here's a way to get you started on finding your citation. So overall, what's really great about using library databases is not only are you able to make sure that you are pulling something that is peer reviewed, but you're able to download the PDF as a whole so you have access to it, create that permalink, as well as to get started with having that citation there. So, as I said in the beginning, navigating library databases doesn't have to be hard. There are a plethora of resources within our system to support you along your research journey once you have created those keywords and you're ready to plug them into a database. Whether that's you choosing to do OneSearch, which is one of our more general, broader databases to get started, or you're going down here to click on databases to click and find a database that is more specific to the subject area that you're going to be focusing on to begin your search there. You have access to hundreds of databases within the IU Indianapolis system that can support you in finding the resources that you need to complete your research assignment.